Ron Staley, a 1975 graduate of Hill-McCloy High School, is the 2010 Montrose Hall of Fame recipient of the Special Achievement Award for his distinctive accomplishments as a construction manager in historical preservation. Ron has led many projects, including Michigan's state capitol, the Maryland state capitol, and multiple projects at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., as well as international projects. Today, Ron is Senior Vice President in charge of the Mid-Atlantic office for the Chrisman Company in Alexandria, Virginia. Ron's career choice started with drafting classes during high school at Montrose. He knew then that he wanted to construct buildings. Ron attended Michigan Technological University in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, where he received his Associate's in Applied Science degree in Civil Engineering Technology in 1977. And a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in 1980, both with honors. Montrose classmate Dwayne Cherry was his roommate, and neither had been that far from home. He enjoyed many outside activities while attending Tech. "Snow and water were a big part of everything I did," said Ron. "I started scuba diving in Lake Superior, including diving under the ice in winter. We would snowshoe, cross-country ski, downhill ski, rappel cliffs, hike and explore shipwrecks and old mines all around the area." Ron worked for Bechtel Power Corporation as a cost schedule engineer, and then moved to a field job site as field engineer. He worked on several large coal-fired power plants in St. Clair, Lansing, and Holland. Ron was building some really challenging projects, but at the end of the day, it was hard to go to a power plant and smile and say, "Yes, I built that." In 1984, when the nuclear construction market shut down, Ron went to work as a project engineer for a subcontractor, the Chrisman Company, a Lansing-based general contractor and construction manager. In 1986, he was promoted to project manager and started working in the Lansing office. One of his projects was a small project at the Michigan State Capitol, which was the start of a merging of career and passion. The historic exposure from tech and construction came together like a perfect storm. The small project at the Michigan Capitol grew into a major 4-year, $58 million project, and at 30 years old, Ron was the project manager running with a staff of 13, overseeing 4 design firms and 150 trade workers in the operational capital. Ron recognized the need for general contractors to specialize in historic preservation work. Architects and consultants specialized in it, but not contractors. He strongly felt not using the expertise Chrisman gained to market new preservation work would be a true loss. After completing a market study, Ron Staley was appointed as the director of Chrisman's new historic preservation group. Ron was honored to preserve some of the country's greatest history for future generations. The great buildings include work on Fort Mackinac and the governor's summer house on Mackinac Island, Henry Ford's Estate Fair Lane, and recreating the roundhouse at Greenfield Village, Flint's Whiting Auditorium, and Charles Stewart Mott Estate, Applewood. He's also worked on numerous historic churches, libraries, and theaters throughout Michigan. In 1996, his company led a $40 million restoration of Notre Dame's administration building, known best as the Golden Dome. He then restored Georgia's old governor's mansion. In 2001, Ron led the effort to open a full-time office for the Chrisman Company in Washington, D.C. Their first major East Coast project was the $88 million restoration of the Virginia Capitol. Ron felt the history with every bit of work he did. Queen Elizabeth came to the U.S. in 2007 for the 300th anniversary of Jamestown, which coincided with the rededication of the Virginia Capitol restoration. Ron became active in several outside organizations, including the Michigan Historic Preservation Network as a board member in 1998, then treasurer until 2002, and developed a contractor group within the organization which led to being chair of the Construction Trades Council. In 1998, Ron became a member of the board of directors for the Association for Preservation Technology International. Ron published his first peer review paper in 2002 and won the highest award, the Oliver Torrey Fuller Award. 3 more papers have been peer-reviewed and published since. Ron served as treasurer from 2001 to 2004 and was nominated to the APT College of Fellows, the highest professional honor of the organization, in 2005. Ron's work in this industry has opened doors to great professional relationships. In 2002, he was awarded the title Honorary Affiliate Member of American Institute of Architects by the Michigan chapter of AIA. In 2008, Governor Granholm appointed Ron to the State of Michigan Historic Preservation Review Board, a federally mandated board that reviews and approves all National Register nominations. He became a board member of the District of Columbia Preservation League in 2009. When we asked Ron what he likes best about the work he does, he responded, "I love to stand back and think of the history in each building I have the honor to touch. I want to make sure my staff and subcontractors do the best possible preservation work to assure future generations can experience what our forefathers did for us. I have stood under the Michigan Capitol Dome at night and wondered about the guy who built it originally, or all the Civil War veterans who were honored during its construction. I've slept in the Governor's Mansion on Mackinac Island, and Old Governor's Mansion in Georgia, all part of the restoration process. I think of JFK visiting Mackinac and Sherman accepting surrender in Georgia. We unearthed bullets at Fort Mackinac, which makes you think hard about who may not have come home. I've worked on 500-year-old wood churches in remote Poland and Slovakia and touched the knife marks left from a German sharpshooter that killed Russian soldiers during World War II. I stood on the 2009 inaugural stands we constructed at the U.S. Capitol, on the exact spot the nation's first African-American president would take his oath of office. The view and image of looking to the Washington Monument will be with me forever. A piece of plywood hangs in my office, not because of politics, but because of history." He recently was part of a study group at the United States' oldest embassy in Tangier, Morocco, a trip that his wife Linda joined him, as she does on many of the conferences and travels. Over this summer, in 2011, Ron will be working on Perry's Victory Memorial at Put-in Bay off Sandusky, Ohio, a technically challenged project that restores the observation platform 300 feet above Lake Erie that is the tomb of 6 sailors. Ron hopes to teach one day and share his experience with the next generation and teach practicality to an industry where historic preservation is seen as a bad word. Ron feels old buildings need to be reused, not just saved because they are old. With all the attention to being green and sustainable, all we need to do is to look to Europe, where living in a family house that's 300 years old is not uncommon. We need to build to last, not for ease of disposal. A challenge Ron often faces is the misconception that the craft is not available for historic preservation. It's Ron's job to locate such craftsmanship. Horsehair plaster can still be made. Decorative finishes can be recreated. Wood millwork and custom period carpets can still be woven. Ron said, "If I need a recreation of a Victorian light fixture, I know who can do it. Need custom cast door hardware to match 1840 Governor's Mansion hardware? I know who can do that too." Ron was raised in Montrose by his parents, Victor Staley Jr. and Marjorie Staley. They lived on the corner of Dodge and Seymour Roads. His dad grew up in Montrose, and his grandparents lived on Saginaw Street, only a few blocks from where his great-grandparents lived after coming to the U.S. from Russia. Ron has 3 brothers: Mike, class of 74, Larry, class of 81, Don, class of 86. Larry and Don also followed graduation from Montrose, with graduation from Michigan Tech as engineers. Ron commented, "My best overall memory of Hill McCloy High School was that you knew everyone in your class, including most of the upper or underclassmates, even their brothers and sisters. It was a great town to call home." Ron played in the Rams marching band and also in a small rock band. Classmate Jim Cole was one of the band members, so they practiced for a time at his family funeral home, and the dead never once complained. Ron had motorcycles before a driver's license and knew how to dodge Montrose police by taking back roads where trails cut off for miles. Snowmobiles, cars, and motorcycles were all in the garage during high school, where classmates Dwayne Cherry and Ike Lee hung out. They were there in the middle of the night, along with Tim Spaulding, when Ron opened his 1930 Ford Model A street rod on Dodge Road for the first road test. At age 15, Ron started working at Hill's Orchard for $1.60 per hour. The last summer before college, he also worked at Gold's Auto Parts store. Between the 2 businesses, he knew everyone who came in. He remembers Mrs. Curry yelling at him for slouching in a chair during English class. He wondered, when will I ever need to know this history stuff, during Mr. Johnson's history class, a subject that intertwines with his career. Mr. Fear's mechanical drawing classes were part of Ron's path to Genesee Area Skills Center, where during his senior year under Mr. Jack Rice, who ultimately opened the door for Ron to attend Michigan Tech and study engineering. Ron currently lives between Brighton, Michigan and Alexandria, Virginia, with his wife of 28 years, Linda. He met Linda just out of college in 1981, when they both worked for Bechtel Power Corporation. They moved to Brighton when they married in 1982. They have a son, Dustin, and a daughter, Ashley. Dustin graduated from the University of Michigan and is an independent videographer and photographer in Chicago. Dustin has traveled the world for 2 years, living and teaching in Thailand after the tsunami. Ashley graduated from the University of Kentucky and works for a Michigan nonprofit association in Lansing. She was married this year and lives with her husband, Jonathan Branoff, in East Lansing. When their kids were small, every family vacation always had to include a bit of history or architecture or construction. They traveled the United States, Caribbean, France, Mexico, Italy, and Greece as a family. His kids freely travel the world now when they can, and will meet up in Egypt or other locations and visit museums and explore old buildings. Both kids scuba dive and are seeing sunken ships and sea life at the envy of their father, who can't make every trip. In 1990, when the kids went to college, Ron felt a great sense of accomplishment when he earned his private pilot license, then later earned his instrument rating, multi-engine rating, flight formation wingman, and flight lead certification, and most recently a license to fly 2 different Russian fighter jets. He has the honor of owning a World War II-era North American T-6, which gets to many air shows in the summer in honor of the greatest generation. Ron also bought an L-39 Albatross, his version of a midlife crisis sports car. The difference is that this car does 400 miles per hour. He usually stops over Montrose once a year and does a little show laying out a smoke trail for his dad and other family members at the Montrose Cemetery. Ron says that flying clears the head and makes it fun to go to work. Ron contributes his career accomplishments by having a passion for what he does, looking for opportunities to do what has not been done, meeting great people and learning from them, and most of all, simply working hard, something that started in Montrose. Congratulations, Ron, for the man that you've become. You've left your fingerprint on each historical building that you preserved. The Montrose Hall of Fame is extremely proud of your accomplishments and welcomes you as the Special Achievement recipient in the class of 2010.